Romeo's relationship with Rosalind, I think, is really important. I think it's an incredibly young play, and I think you see a boy at the start of the play who's absolutely fascinated with somebody who is effectively leading him around the block, really, in that he's absolutely wildly mad about her and she's not giving anything back. And I think she's very important to see the difference then when he comes to meet Juliet and he says to the friar,
"Pray thee, chide me not, her I love now, doth grace for grace and love for love allow. The other did not so."
And it's what he's talking about in the first scene with Benvolio, that she won't let him anywhere near him because, you know, a loving hate or brawling love or anything of nothing first create. It's exactly the idea, I think, that with the recent brawls that have kicked off in the rival family, she's from the other family, and I think she's prevented him getting nearer. And so it shows that Romeo has a lot of love to give, and then when he chimes with Juliet, she's someone who can match that love. I think amazingly important. I think Romeo absolutely loves those guys, and I think Shakespeare keeps checking in with that all the time. In fact, that's what he's willing to lose for Juliet, really. You know, that's the world that he's leaving behind for her. And I think especially in a place like this in the Globe, we're very lucky getting to play those sorts of relationships because they're so fun, aren't they? They're so young lads. You know, it really helps to emphasise that these really are young men in the prime of life, you know, wildly falling in love, wildly passionate, and really in love with each other, I think. I think they're really, really good mates. He really fancies her.
What lady's that which did enrich the hand of yonder knight? Ah, see, the decent torches burn bright.
I think he fancies her, you know, in a way that teenagers do fancy. They move from one person to the next. But I think here, as teenagers do, truly, every time you see someone new, you think they're the most amazing person you've ever seen. I think the sonnet is fantastic, and it's so unlocking thinking about them as teenagers, because all he really wants to do, I think, is snog her. If I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle sin is this. He's trying to be charming, he's trying to woo her, and my lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. Lurch, he goes in for the kiss. And then what's amazing about it is that Shakespeare has Juliet match him word for word, and she mirrors his lines, she rhymes back with him. And that is what gets exciting. And then they get off on each other's words, and he realises this is the moment for the first time that there is someone who can match him. And so at the very end, when he does get to snog her, it is incredible. It's like the best first kiss you can imagine. I think the Romeo and Friar Lawrence relationship is a really important one as well. The first time we see them together, the first thing Romeo says to him is, "Good morrow, father."
Good morrow, father! Benedicite! What early tongue so sweet saluteth me?
Which is particularly interesting given the context that is set up with his own father at the start of the play, someone who can't get any information out of him. Obviously his friar is his father, really. And the first thing pretty much the friar says back to him is, he refers to him as young son. That's their relationship. And in the first scene that you see them together, when Romeo's trying to convince him to marry them, they complete each other's couplets a lot. The whole thing is in rhyming couplets.
Last is true, the sweeter rest was mine. God pardon sin, wast thou with Rosaline?
There's a sense of them being on exactly the same wavelength. And it's very interesting then when it gets to the banishment scene, which I think is very much about a young man asserting his status in the world. The teenager saying to his father, "You don't understand. But thou as young as I, Juliet thy love."
Let me dispute with thee of thy estate. Thou canst not speak of that, thou dost not be young.
They jar for the first time. They don't speak in rhyming couplets. And they have that argument. Romeo breaks down. He's pleading for his help and saying, "You don't understand, you don't understand." Then effectively the nurse or the kind of mother figure comes in and the father figure says, "Right, you deal with him. I've had enough. I can't do it anymore." And then between them, then the friar comes back and formulates a plan which galvanises Romeo. And amazingly, the scene ends for the first time again with Romeo rhyming a couplet to him as a sign of thank you, as a sign of having been reborn a man now, I think. He says to his father,
"But that a joy past joy calls out on me, it were a grief so brief to part with thee."
That's the last thing they say to each other, and it's the kind of final moment of him showing his appreciation for the friar as a father figure and also asserting himself as a man to him, I think.